Have you ever wondered about the different types of angels mentioned in the Bible? What sets the powerful seraphim apart from the archangels? Why are some angels depicted with 6 wings descending to earth, while others stand guard at the gates of heaven? Are these angels simply messengers, or do they serve a much larger cosmic purpose? Imagine this: a figure of light, with wings that shimmer like gold, standing before you. The air is thick with a divine presence, and you're frozen in awe, unsure whether to run or kneel. This isn't a scene from a fantasy movie. It's how angels have been described throughout history and in the pages of the Bible. But what exactly are angels? And why have they captivated the imagination of billions of people over millennia? This is Life Uncovered, and welcome to this deep dive into one of the most intriguing and mysterious subjects in biblical history: angels. These celestial beings have played an important role in sacred texts, appearing at pivotal moments in history, delivering God's messages, guiding heroes, and even engaging in battle on behalf of heaven itself. But there's so much more to angels than what meets the eye. We're going to break down the hierarchy of angels described in biblical scripture, from the fiery seraphim who surround God's throne to the more familiar archangels who deliver messages to humanity. We'll explore their roles, their unique appearances, and the fascinating stories behind them, all drawn straight from the Bible and early Christian traditions. You'll also learn how these celestial beings have been interpreted over time, and how their influence continues to resonate in religious and cultural contexts today. So let's embark on a journey to explore the divine and mysterious world of biblical angels. In the writings of Pseudo-Dionysius, angels are divided into 3 main spheres, or levels of heavenly beings. These spheres are not arbitrary. They are reflective of the degree of proximity to God's presence, the purity and the power of each order, and their purpose in the grand heavenly plan. In the first sphere, we find the seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. These angelic orders are the closest to the presence of God. They are radiant with divine light, and their purpose is to either reflect God's purity, protect His sanctity, or fulfill His divine will directly. In the second sphere, we encounter the dominions, virtues, and powers. These angels oversee the movements of the lower orders and are often associated with controlling the natural world. They are agents of God's providence, helping to regulate and order creation. Finally, in the third sphere, we encounter the principalities, archangels, and angels, the most familiar to us, as they interact directly with humanity. They serve as God's messengers and guides, intervening in earthly matters and guiding the faithful. Let's focus on the first sphere, where the most exalted and powerful angels dwell. The first sphere holds the most majestic and revered orders of angels. These beings exist in close proximity to God and fulfill the most sacred of duties. Let's explore each of these orders in greater detail. The seraphim are the first order within the first sphere and are perhaps the most awe-inspiring. These fiery beings are described vividly in the book of Isaiah, in one of the most mystical and powerful visions recorded in the Bible. In Isaiah 6:1-7, the prophet is granted a vision of God's throne room. He witnesses an awe-inspiring sight: God sitting upon a high and lofty throne, surrounded by these burning beings called seraphim. The seraphim are described as having 6 wings, 2 to cover their faces, 2 to cover their feet, and 2 with which they fly. They are surrounded by a fire of holiness and are ever present before God. The seraphim's primary role is not to serve as messengers, but to offer continuous, unceasing praise to God. Their voices, as they cry out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory," create an overwhelming sense of divine reverence. Their very presence radiates the burning holiness of God's majesty. The word seraphim itself comes from the Hebrew root saraph, meaning to burn or to set on fire. This reflects their fiery nature, symbolic of purity, passion, and unfiltered devotion. They represent the aspect of God that is pure holiness, so radiant and intense that they cannot even look directly upon Him, instead covering their faces with their wings. In essence, The seraphim are the closest to God in their holiness, their fiery passion, and their undying praise. They exist to glorify God, forever caught in the flames of His divine radiance. Moving to the second order within the first sphere, we encounter the cherubim. They are one of the most iconic types of angels in both the Old and New Testaments, often portrayed as guardians of sacred spaces. The cherubim first appear in Genesis 3:24, where they are placed by God to guard the entrance to the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve are banished. These angels hold a mighty protective role, preventing humanity from re-entering paradise. In the text, they are armed with flaming swords, guarding the holiness of God's creation. But the role of the cherubim doesn't stop there. They also appear in the visions of Ezekiel, where their description becomes even more awe-inspiring. Ezekiel 10 describes them as majestic, winged beings with the faces of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, symbols of the highest aspects of creation. These multi-faced beings symbolize the fullness of divine wisdom, power, and knowledge. Cherubim are not just guardians. They are representations of divine wisdom and divine presence. In the Temple of Solomon, the cherubim were also featured as part of the Ark of the Covenant, reflecting their important role in carrying God's presence into the world. They surround God's throne, offering eternal protection and reflecting His glory. Finally, in the first sphere, we have the thrones. These angelic beings are often described as reflecting God's divine justice and authority, serving as the embodiment of God's judgment. They are the instruments through which God's divine will is enacted upon creation. The thrones are often depicted as living wheels, or wheels within wheels, a vision that comes from Ezekiel's prophecies. Their appearance reflects movement and dynamism, suggesting that they are always in motion, executing God's plans throughout the heavens and the earth. The role of the thrones is not just passive. They are said to act as the divine counselors of God, aiding in the administration of His kingdom. They also reflect God's divine justice, ensuring that the balance of creation is maintained according to divine law. These beings do not simply follow orders. They also represent God's infinite wisdom in His judgments, reminding us that all things in the universe are held together by God's sovereign will. Together, the seraphim, cherubim, and thrones make up the first sphere, the highest and most sacred order of angels in the heavenly hierarchy. Their roles are interconnected yet distinct. Each angelic order reflects a different aspect of God's divine nature: holiness, wisdom, and justice. The seraphim, burning with praise, exalt God's holiness. The cherubim, in their wisdom and guardianship, protect the sacredness of God's presence. The thrones, in their embodiment of justice, ensure the divine order is upheld. Each of these angelic orders works in perfect harmony, continually praising, guarding, and administering God's divine plan. Their existence and actions remind us of the grandeur of the Creator and the mystery of His will, ever present, ever watchful, and eternally engaged with creation. As we contemplate the celestial hierarchy, it becomes clear that angels are not just messengers. They are part of a divine structure that reflects the order of the heavens and the will of God. The first sphere, seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, serves as the heart of this structure, a constant reminder of the purity, wisdom, and justice that govern the divine realm. As we continue to explore the roles of angels, let us remember that these celestial beings are not distant or detached. They are active participants in the ongoing work of creation, fulfilling their roles to reflect the grandeur and holiness of God. As we journey deeper into the celestial realm, we move from the most exalted angels in the first sphere to the middle and lower spheres, where angels serve in varied but essential roles. These angelic beings are tasked with governing the natural world, guiding humanity, and protecting us from spiritual dangers. In the second and third spheres, angels continue to fulfill God's divine plan, yet they interact with creation in ways that are often more direct and personal. The second and third spheres contain angels that are intimately involved with the world around us. From governing nations to fighting against evil forces, These angels ensure that divine justice, grace, and protection are maintained throughout the heavens and the earth. Let us explore the middle and lower spheres in detail, starting with the second sphere, which is comprised of the dominions, virtues, and powers. At the heart of the second sphere, we encounter the dominions. These angels serve as governors, responsible for overseeing and guiding the activities of lower-ranked angels in the heavenly hierarchy. They are also known as the lordships, and serve as a bridge between the higher celestial orders and the angelic beings that are more involved with humanity. In many respects, the dominions function as heavenly administrators. They don't often interact directly with humanity, but instead ensure that the divine order in heaven is properly maintained. These angels are the ones who direct the flow of God's will among the lower choirs of angels, ensuring that their duties are carried out in perfect accordance with the divine plan. While the dominions themselves might not directly intervene in earthly matters, their role is crucial in maintaining a cosmic balance. They ensure that angels in the lower orders remain aligned with God's will, preventing any disorder or rebellion in the heavenly ranks. In this way, they reflect God's authority and his desire for harmony in all things. Moving forward in the second sphere, we come to the virtues, often referred to as the spirits of motion. These angels are closely associated with God's grace and power, acting as instruments of divine energy that flow throughout creation. The virtues are often depicted as beings who dispense divine blessings, grace, and miraculous power. In the biblical tradition, the virtues are most often linked with the natural world and the miraculous acts that occur within it. They are the angels who inspire and empower acts of goodness, performing miracles that reveal the presence of God in the world. Through their intervention, they sustain creation and provide the divine energy necessary for the universe to function. The virtues are closely associated with the physical world, and many traditions believe that they are responsible for controlling the elements, such as the movements of the stars, seasons, and other natural phenomena. Through their divine influence, the virtues ensure that God's will is manifest in the laws of nature, which he established at the dawn of creation. In a more personal sense, the virtues may also be involved in performing miracles to aid individuals in their moments of need, providing the grace and strength required to overcome hardships. At the lower end of the second sphere, we find the powers, warrior angels, whose role is to protect creation from spiritual corruption and chaos. The powers are often associated with divine justice and are seen as the warriors of the heavenly realm, fighting against evil forces, including rebellious spirits and demons. The powers are fierce protectors of God's order in both the heavenly and earthly realms. They ensure that no evil force or chaos can disrupt the divine plan. In this role, they are often called upon to engage in spiritual battles, combating the forces of darkness and maintaining cosmic harmony. In certain traditions, the powers are seen as the leaders of God's armies against the forces of evil, holding the line between order and disorder. They are often depicted as powerful, armored beings, wielding divine weapons with unyielding strength. Their primary duty is to guard the integrity of creation from those who seek to defile or destroy it. As we move into the third and final sphere of angels, we encounter the principalities, archangels, and angels. These beings are closer to humanity and are often the most familiar to us. They interact with the world in profound ways, guiding nations, delivering messages, and offering protection to individuals. In many ways, these angels serve as intermediaries between heaven and earth. The principalities are angelic beings with a unique responsibility. They are tasked with guiding and overseeing nations, rulers, and leaders. These angels are deeply involved in the political and worldly affairs of humanity, providing guidance to leaders and ensuring that divine justice and order are maintained in the governance of nations. In some traditions, the principalities are seen as guardians of cities, regions, and even entire countries. They influence the course of history and help guide rulers toward wisdom and righteousness. While they do not always intervene directly in earthly matters, they work behind the scenes, influencing the hearts of leaders to act in ways that align with divine purposes. Their role can be both subtle and powerful, often directing the rise and fall of nations according to God's will. The principalities also oversee the angels assigned to specific rulers and leaders, ensuring that these earthly authorities remain faithful to the divine will. In this sense, the principalities serve as both protectors and mentors, helping to shape the moral and spiritual direction of society. Among the most well-known of all angels are the Archangels, especially Michael and Gabriel. These two archangels stand out for their significant roles in both biblical history and in the spiritual warfare that shapes the destiny of humankind. Michael is often described as the leader of God's heavenly army, a mighty warrior who stands firm against the forces of darkness. His name means, "Who is like God?" and he is depicted as a champion of God's divine justice and a protector of humanity. Michael's role is most famously illustrated in the book of Daniel, where he appears as a protector of Israel, engaging in spiritual warfare on behalf of God's people. In Daniel 10:13, Michael is called upon to help an angel deliver a message to Daniel, and in Daniel 12:1, he is said to stand guard over the nation of Israel during times of trouble. Michael also plays a pivotal role in the book of Revelation, where he leads the heavenly armies in a climactic battle against the forces of evil. Revelation 12:7-9 describes how Michael and his angels defeat the dragon, Satan, and his forces, casting them out of heaven and into the earth. In this way, Michael's warrior nature aligns with his role as a defender of divine order and protector against spiritual evil. Gabriel, on the other hand, is primarily known for his role as a divine messenger. His name means, "God is my strength," and he serves as the intermediary between God and humanity in key moments of salvation history. Gabriel's most famous appearance is in the Gospel of Luke, where he announces the births of both John the Baptist and Jesus Christ. In Luke 1:11-38, Gabriel appears to Zechariah to announce the miraculous birth of his son, John. Later, Gabriel visits Mary to announce the conception of Jesus, delivering one of the most important messages in Christian history. In addition to his work in the New Testament, Gabriel is also featured in the book of Daniel, where he helps Daniel understand visions and prophecies about the future of Israel. Gabriel's role as a messenger underscores his vital part in communicating God's will and purpose to humanity. Finally, we come to the angels, the most common and accessible of all the celestial beings. These angels are tasked with personal guidance and protection, watching over individual humans and ensuring that divine assistance is available in times of need. Unlike the higher orders, who operate on a cosmic or national scale, the angels are concerned with the spiritual well-being of each person. In many ways, the angels represent God's care for every individual. They offer protection from harm, guide people through life's challenges, and provide comfort in times of distress. Angels are often thought to work quietly behind the scenes, offering their help in ways that might go unnoticed, but are deeply impactful. Whether delivering a message, offering comfort, or providing a sense of direction, these angels are messengers of God's love and protection in the lives of ordinary people. Through their service, they remind us that we are never alone, and that God is always present, offering His guidance through these celestial beings. As we conclude our examination of the middle and lower spheres, we now move to explore some unique angelic beings and classes of angels that stand apart from the traditional orders we've discussed. These angels have distinct roles, some of which blur the lines between angelic and divine manifestations, while others present more complex and enigmatic stories in biblical literature. Let's dive into the fascinating world of the Watchers, the Angel of the Lord, and fallen angels. In the apocryphal book of Enoch, a fascinating and mysterious group of angels are described, the Watchers. These beings are often portrayed as a class of angels tasked with watching over humanity, observing our actions, and guiding us in ways that are not fully explained in the canonical Bible. The name Watchers comes from their primary duty to watch or guard the world below. However, their story takes a dramatic and controversial turn. The Watchers are introduced in 1st Enoch, an ancient Jewish text that is not included in the canonical scriptures of most Christian traditions, though it was highly influential in Jewish mysticism and early Christian theology. According to the text, the Watchers were dispatched to Earth to guide humanity, but they became enmeshed in human affairs in ways that were forbidden by God. Rather than simply observing, the Watchers chose to teach humanity forbidden knowledge of sorcery, astrology, and warfare, among other secret arts. In 1st Enoch 6-7, the Watchers, led by a figure named Azazel, descend to Earth and take human wives. They impart secret knowledge to humankind and even father children with these women, resulting in the birth of giants known as the Nephilim. The Watchers' involvement with humanity not only violates God's command, but leads to catastrophic consequences: corruption, violence, and the eventual flood in the days of Noah. As a result of their disobedience, the Watchers are punished. God decrees that they be bound and cast into the abyss, where they remain imprisoned until the final judgment. This story presents a more rebellious and fallen image of angels, showing that even those who were once entrusted with the care of humanity can fall prey to temptation and misuse their power. Though the Watchers are not considered part of the traditional Christian angelology, their story raises intriguing questions about the interaction between angels and humans and the potential for spiritual beings to fall from grace. The Watchers' fall is a precursor to the larger narrative of the fall of Lucifer and his followers, further emphasizing the tension between obedience and rebellion in the heavenly realms. One of the most mysterious and fascinating figures in the Bible is the angel of the Lord. This figure often appears in pivotal moments of Scripture, and in some traditions is understood to be a manifestation of God himself, rather than a distinct angelic being. The term angel of the Lord appears numerous times in the Old Testament, often in contexts that suggest a deep, personal interaction with God. For example, in Genesis 22:11-18, the angel of the Lord speaks directly to Abraham during his test of faith, when he is about to sacrifice his son Isaac. In the text, the angel of the Lord intervenes at the last moment, stopping Abraham and providing a ram for the sacrifice. In this instance, the angel of the Lord doesn't just deliver a message, he speaks as though he represents God himself. Another famous appearance of the angel of the Lord occurs in Exodus 3, where Moses encounters the burning bush. The text describes how the angel of the Lord appears to Moses from the midst of the flame. Yet when Moses approaches, God himself speaks to him, saying, "I am who I am." Here, the angel of the Lord and God are not distinct figures, but seem to be intertwined in a way that is difficult to separate. This ambiguity surrounding the angel of the Lord has led many scholars and theologians to suggest that this figure may be a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ, a concept known as a theophany, a visible manifestation of God before his ultimate revelation through Jesus Christ. In Christian theology, this connection is often seen as a precursor to the Incarnation, where God becomes fully manifest in the person of Jesus. In other instances, the angel of the Lord appears to deliver important messages or provide guidance, and in some cases, he offers protection or direction, like when he appears to Hagar in the wilderness, Genesis 16, or to Joshua before the Battle of Jericho, Joshua 5. The presence of the angel of the Lord is often a powerful reminder of God's direct involvement in the affairs of humanity. No discussion of angelic beings would be complete without touching upon one of the most tragic and pivotal stories in the Bible, the fall of Lucifer and the subsequent rebellion of the angels who followed him. This story is a somber reminder of the consequences of pride, rebellion, and disobedience to God. Lucifer, once one of the highest-ranking angels in heaven, is believed to have fallen due to his desire to exalt himself above God. The Bible hints at this in passages like Isaiah 14:12-15, which speaks of a fallen angel who sought to ascend to heaven and set his throne above the stars of God. This passage, though it primarily refers to the king of Babylon, is often interpreted as a prophetic reference to Lucifer's rebellion. Another key passage is Ezekiel 28:12-17, where the king of Tyre is described in terms that mirror Lucifer's prideful fall. Lucifer's rebellion, driven by his pride and desire for power, leads to his ultimate downfall. In Revelation 12:7-9, we read of a great war in heaven, in which Lucifer and his followers are cast out of heaven by Michael and the heavenly armies. These fallen angels, now known as demons, are cast down to earth, where they continue their opposition to God's will. The story of Lucifer's fall is symbolic not only of the consequences of pride, but also of the broader spiritual battle between good and evil. Lucifer's rebellion introduced a cosmic conflict that continues to this day, as demons seek to thwart God's plan and lead humanity astray. Fallen angels, now demons, are active in opposing the work of God and corrupting the hearts of humanity. They are often depicted in Christian scripture and tradition as tempters, deceivers, and agents of chaos who work to lead people away from God. In Revelation 12:12, they are described as waging war against the faithful, knowing that their time is short. This ongoing spiritual battle is part of the larger narrative of creation, where the forces of good, led by the angels, contend with the forces of evil, led by Satan and his fallen followers. The story of fallen angels and demons serves as a reminder of the importance of faith and obedience. Just as the Watchers fell from grace and Lucifer's rebellion shattered the harmony of the heavens, so too does disobedience in the human realm lead to spiritual destruction. But even in the face of darkness, the angels remain, fighting for God's kingdom, guiding us, and protecting us from the forces of evil. As we conclude our journey through the celestial hierarchy, we are left with a profound understanding of the roles angels play in God's divine plan. From the exalted seraphim to the guiding angels who walk alongside us in our daily lives, angels are not merely figures in a distant realm. They are active participants in the ongoing story of creation, working tirelessly to fulfill God's will and bring about His ultimate purpose. Whether they are warring against evil or delivering messages of hope and salvation, angels are God's messengers, protectors, and servants, reminding us of His unwavering presence in the world. As we draw our exploration of angels to a close, let's take a moment to recap the key points we've covered today. We've delved into the rich and multifaceted world of angelology, uncovering the diverse orders and ranks of angels as they are portrayed in the Bible. We began by examining the celestial hierarchy, which organizes angels into three main spheres. In the first sphere, we encountered the exalted seraphim, fiery beings who surround God's throne, offering continuous praise. The cherubim, who guard sacred spaces like the Garden of Eden and carry out God's will with wisdom. And the thrones, who reflect God's divine justice and authority. In the second sphere, we explored the dominions, angelic governors overseeing the lower ranks, the virtues, who dispense God's grace and perform miracles, and the powers, warrior angels tasked with maintaining cosmic order and protecting against evil spirits. Finally, we reached the third sphere, where we examined the more familiar and personal roles of angels, including the principalities, who guide nations and leaders, and the archangels, with Michael as a warrior and Gabriel as a messenger. The angels in this sphere, more accessible to humanity, serve as protectors and guides for individuals on a personal level. We also discussed unique angelic beings like the Watchers, whose story of rebellion is outlined in the Book of Enoch, and the Angel of the Lord, a mysterious figure often interpreted as a pre-incarnate manifestation of God Himself. We concluded by exploring the fall of Lucifer and the demons, shedding light on the cosmic battle between good and evil that underpins much of the Bible's spiritual narrative. Angels in the Bible are not just abstract figures or mere servants. They are vibrant, active agents of God's divine will, each fulfilling specific and important roles within the larger narrative of creation. They carry out the essential work of guiding, protecting, and serving humanity, and they are central to the unfolding story of salvation. Whether in their exalted state, surrounding the throne of God, or in their more personal interactions with individuals on earth, angels are intricately woven into the tapestry of biblical history. Beyond their biblical context, angels continue to play a profound role in various religious traditions around the world. They serve as symbols of divine intervention, protectors in times of peril, and messengers of hope. Their enduring presence in religious thought and popular culture speaks to their lasting significance, reminding us of the unseen, divine forces that work in our lives, often in ways we may not fully understand. The angelic realm invites us to consider not only the grandeur and mystery of the heavens, but also the constant, unseen presence of the divine in our daily lives. As we reflect on the angelic beings we've discussed today, we are reminded that we are never truly alone. There are higher powers, servants of God, guiding us, protecting us, and communicating with us in profound ways. The angels, in all their variety and beauty, continue to point us toward God's eternal plan, reminding us of His love, justice, and protection. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the angelic realm. If you like this content, please consider liking the video and following. Also, check out some of our other videos on Christianity and Bible teachings. Until next time, this was Life Uncovered.